Hello everybody, I'm Tony Craig, this is F1 Grandstand and this is your daily Formula One news. Laurent Marquez sounds the warning bell about Red Bull's powertrain. Piero Ferrari dreams of Kimi, but which one? Ollie Behrman dreams of Ferrari. Carlos Sainz dreams of George Russell. Martin Brundle dreams of Leclerc. A lot of dreaming going on tonight's show. Valtteri Bottas is adamant the new F1 regulations will be better than people think. And Cadillac impress their rivals. We do have a lot to get through tonight. So if you are an F1 fan, of course, you're in the right place. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash a like on the video if you're watching right now. And also, if you are about to subscribe, make sure behind that subscribe button, you have the bell all icon ticked. That way, you get notified of all the content and you get to choose which pieces of content that you engage with. Hello, chat. It's already kicking off. Loads of me there just set. David, Hooked on Classic, DT, Queen of the Chat, Gemma, Retro Man, Old Guy Chat, Sema's in there. Up early over in Australia there, Sema. Mario's in there, Dawley's in there, Peter's in them. Oh, it's busy, busy, busy tonight. Okay, Laurent Marquez sounding the warning bell. But why? It looks so good. Is there something behind this? Let's find out. So, Laurent Marquez. This is what he's been saying. So team principal Laurent Marquez has warned that despite their new power unit's impressive debut outing during testing in Bahrain, it could be a painful process competing with the leading engines on the grid. So we've already seen that obviously Isaac Hadjar had a couple of reliability issues in Bahrain, but Max Verstappen seemed to not have those same issues, and he didn't just get up to speed really quickly, he also pioneered the first gear in the third gear corners battery harvesting technique that everyone then jumped on and followed. So obviously, I just said this, but Verstappen showing other drivers the battery charging technique during testing. That will be crucial to be competitive this season. Obviously, Red Bull's powertrain's first engine and the connected gearbox, they need to find out whether it's durable enough to deal with the high revs when dropping down to first gear during corners. That would have been taken in third gear. But Max Verstappen seemed to show that so far so good in that respect for Red Bull. Harvested a lot of power. Max was pretty quick. He was achieving top speeds down the straight. So everything looks great. Everything looks rosy. So why is Marquez being all negative? Well, before he got negative, it was almost like a shit sandwich. He was positive first. So what he basically said was Marquez has warned that Red Bull still have a long way to go before they can be considered favourites. So he was being interviewed by TSN ahead of this weekend's Melbourne Grand Prix. And he was asked about the DMO1, that's the Red Bull's name for their power unit. And this is what Marquez said. It's historical what the team has done, what the power unit team has done. Starting from zero 3 years ago, getting there, seeing that reality of the chassis and power unit, teams working together around the car and seeing the car going out was a huge achievement. It's the sort of thing that only Red Bull can do. And I do agree with that. Red Bull are very aggressive about how they go about things. Ambitious is the word, but aggressive in their execution. And he goes on to thank the partners, obviously Ford, Xenon and Oracle Standard. But then he goes on to say this. We know it's going to be painful, but it's fair to say that the starting point was outstanding. Yes, I'd agree with that, Lauren. It was astounding. It is astounding. And we are extremely conscious of the amount of work that is still ahead of us in terms of getting the PU to work in the way we need it to work, getting the car to work with the PU in the way it needs to work together, and to then bring that package at the level of our competition who are already performing incredibly well. This, we think, is going to be painful. There will be moments where we will be looking at the classification and it will feel like it's a huge gap to P1. There will be moments where the car will stop on track. What? You're not Aston Martin and Honda. right? But we know the scale of the challenge. We know how crazy of an incredible decision it is to go into those adventures with our own PU. And it's a sort of challenge that we love at Red Bull. And so we embrace it. But the key point is, do you think when Lauren McKee says there will be points where we stop on track, he's talking about reliability there. It goes back to the segment in the show last night where I was saying, I thought they were sort of, you know, because people were talking about this. They were saying, God, Red Bull have aggressively sacrificed reliability, maybe in the pursuit of power. But I said, well, we haven't seen any reliability issues just yet, have we? But what it makes me think about is longer term than what we've seen. So each driver's like, what, 4 engines for the team over a season. So what Mekis is probably saying is, look, our engine, there's a good chance that we're going to be quick, but are we going to be robust enough with that same power unit over the amount of Grand Prix we need to be to not breach the 4 engine rule? So I think he's sort of, or alternatively, hear me out, chat, is he just playing down the expectations because everyone now has very high expectations of what of Red Bull powertrains and Red Bull because of how they performed in Bahrain testing? I don't know. It could be a little bit of PR to try and manage expectations, you know, but or is it the truth? I don't know. I'm going to go to the chat and see what you think. But it's a very, he sort of says how good it is to start off with the you know, the expectations and the jumping off points are absolutely outstanding. But why? What does he know that we don't know when it comes to reliability with that power unit? I don't know. It looks, I'm 50-50. I'm trying to think about it live, what I think about those comments. Gemma's got him with a super chat straight away. I guess Lewis won't be calling him anytime soon. That's a throwback to last night's show, isn't it, Gemma? Love it. Thank you very much for your super chat. He called that's what's funny about Lewis Hamilton. I'll get back to this story in a minute. But Lewis Hamilton called Toto Wolff, called Zach Brown. He didn't bother ringing Laurent Mekies or Jonathan Wheatley or Flavio Briatore, right? Or Alan Permain over at Racing Bulls. Like, you didn't make the cut, boys. All those other team principals didn't get the call from Lewis. Maybe they would have been a bit more forthcoming with their data. Thanks, Gemma. We had another super chat as well, actually, from Gisette. Sandbagging, definitely lowering expectations. That's what Gisette's saying about Lauren McKees. Trying to manage expectations. Because the pressure is going to be... I mean, let's think about who's bringing a power unit for the first time. You got Red Bull, Ford, Audi, and Honda. Well, Honda have already shown their hand. Not good. Can't do a race distance. Not fast. And yeah, just not good at all. Then we've got, obviously, Audi, which I believe, super impressive. Like, super impressive from Audi. Reliable. Got the laps in. They've got the biggest turbo than anybody. And their top speed's pretty good as well. Hulkenberg got a really good top speed in Bahrain testing with the Audi power unit. So, Honda's the worst. Red Bull actually looked pretty good. Looked like in the top 3 for me. But yeah, where would I put them right now? I still believe, even with these negative comments from Lauren McKee saying, hey, look, you know, there's an issue with our power units, reliability, potentially. I still put them number 3. Gisette says, Lewis was flexing. He'd race for both teams. Oh, that's true. Yeah, but he raced with Toto, but he never raced with Zach Brown. So he's... Yeah, that's true, actually. That's true, Gisette. His previous teams, that's right. Well, he definitely wasn't ringing Lauren McKees. But yeah, so but with all of this taken into consideration, where would I put Red Bull right now? I would say Mercedes engine at the top. Almost, I mean, Ferrari's close. Very close at the moment from my estimations. And the Red Bull's not far. I'd say Red Bull in third, but even not that far away either. So I think the only thing we don't know, we know the Red Bull power unit's quick. We know it's delivering the power. We know it harvests energy better than anybody else as well. The only thing we don't know is about reliability over multiple Grand Prix, but we don't know that about anybody. We don't know that about Ferrari. We don't know that about Mercedes. You know, we just don't know. So yeah, Thane. Oh, so just yes, I've got done that one. So Thane says Red Bull Racing pretending to serve fish and chips, and it's a pizza. Thank you, Thane. Yeah, I mean, Red Bull. I don't know why I don't know what you gain from that really, because you got the best driver in the world in Max Verstappen. The expectations are already high, and we're going to talk about driver expectations in this show. We've got Piero Ferrari talking about Kimi, Ollie Behrman talking about Ferrari, Carlos Sainz talking about Russell, and Brundle talking about Leclerc, and all of these tie into driver expectations for this year. So there's a lot in that. In tonight's show. In tonight's show, making up words now. In tonight's show. So yeah, that's the big warning from Lauren McKees. Let's see in Melbourne, but I'm interested to know what you think, chat. Sema says, can't wait for qualifying. It's going to be crazy. I couldn't agree more. Gemma says, thank you much for your super chat, Gemma. At least he's commenting. Newey is staying silent. Exactly. Still no word from Newey, but I do have an update on that, which I'll give you right now because of that super chat. So Newey, still not talking to the press or the fans or anything externally, but he has spoken to the team, the factory. And this is what he said. It wasn't great. He spoke to the factory and said, look, we've got a lot of work to do and it's going to take time. We are going to fight. We're going to try and solve the problems as they come, but don't expect much for the first half of the season. It's going to be a slog, but do expect in the second half of the season for rapid improvement and competitiveness to be present in the second half of the season. And that's what he said to the factory. Still not speaking to the fans though, still in hiding from the press and still in hiding from the fans. Pedro de la Rosa is available for comment should you want to hear from him. Gisette says Max will make it work. Exactly. The thing with Max is, you see, if they do have the third best power unit and the third best car on the grid, Max can do stuff with that. Max can bridge that gap. His ability, he can outperform the car. So you can't write him off. You cannot write him off. So yeah, that's the Lauren McKee story for tonight. Next up, we have got this. I like this one. Piero Ferrari. That's Enzo Ferrari's son. Piero says it's not forbidden to dream of Kimi Antonelli racing for Ferrari. I'm sure he sounds exactly like that before you start having a go at my accent. So this is what he had to say. Piero Ferrari, son of Enzo, has not ruled out the possibility of Kimi Antonelli racing for his father's team one day. Because you got to remember, right, Kimi Antonelli, he was born and lived about 28 miles away from Maranello and is part of the Tifosi. He's a Ferrari fan. So obviously, going back to this, he grew up 28 miles away from the Ferrari factory and he's a Ferrari fan, just as I told you. So Antonelli had a great season last season, really, for his rookie season. Oh, all told, 3 podiums, and he has made a strong impression. And he's Italian, right? That's the important thing. And Ferrari don't want to close the door on him, even though he's wrapped up in the management company owned by Toto Wolff and driving for Mercedes. And I don't think you're going to get him out of there. I think Toto Wolff rates him that highly, and he sees him as a future champion. I think you've got more chance of getting George Russell out of there than Kimi Antonelli. But rumours already circulating about the F1 driver market and what Ferrari's lineup will look like in 27. So, speaking to Correa dello Sport, when asked if he could see the Mercedes driver moving to Maranello one day, he replied, "It's not forbidden. There have been Italians at Ferrari. The last one that tried, dear friend, Michele Alboreto, he didn't succeed." Antonelli has already proven he deserves top flight cars. With a little experience, he certainly will become a great driver. But what does Kimi Antonelli say about moving to Ferrari? He obviously hasn't ruled it out. Could this happen? Could it happen in 27? Right. Now let's talk about that. 27 is a weird year because you've got drivers out of contract at the end of this year. And Kimi Antonelli is one of those drivers. So the driver market's going to dictate some movements. And this is what could happen. Throwing it out there. You know, Toto Wolff is a massive fan of Max Verstappen. George Russell is a great driver. Could you have two great drivers at Mercedes? If Toto wants Max, would he have to sacrifice Kimi and keep George? If that was the case, and Ferrari lose Leclerc or Hamilton at the end of this season, for whatever reason, it's a horrible season. Leclerc, the Ferrari, even though the signs are all good, but let's say it turns into a season like 25, they lose one of their drivers. You've got Oliver Behrman knocking on the door, but then Kimi Antonelli's available as well. Who do you choose? Do you want a Ferrari driver? Sorry, do you want an Italian driver at Ferrari? Could Kimi Antonelli make the move to Ferrari? Like, it's not completely impossible, is it? Is it likely? I don't think so, because here's my curveball. My curveball is this. If Toto Wolff is determined to get Max Verstappen at Mercedes, and Mercedes are looking like super strong, I actually feel that Toto Wolff would rather lose George Russell. I do. And I think Max and Kimi Antonelli would be a better pairing than Russell and Max. I think if you've got Russell and Max at Mercedes next year, I don't think that looks like a happy, harmonious team. I think George Russell deserves to be a number one driver somewhere, but you know you're not the number one driver, even though you've been the number one driver at Mercedes if Max comes in. And I don't think that works well. I think Kimi Antonelli is a sort of guy that will just learn. He'll be a sponge. He'll learn off Max. And I think he'd happy to be in that seat for another year at least. So I actually think it's more likely that if Mercedes go for Max next year because everything aligns, Mercedes happens to be the best team on the grid, Red Bull powertrains are unreliable, let's say, like Laurent Marquez is warning, and it's a horrible season for Red Bull, I don't think it's Kimi that moves, even though his contract's up at the end of 26. Unless Kimi has a horrible season, which I doubt he will. I think he's looking stronger and stronger, and I think he was looking stronger at the end of 25. I actually think it wouldn't be Kimi that leaves Mercedes. That's what I think. Old Geezer says Ferrari have not had a great past with Italian drivers. No, but the romance is there for them, isn't it? I think they'd like to have it. The Kev says, I have a bean to cup coffee machine. They're great as they allow you to create your own blend for your own flavour profile. What are you watching this stream, Kev? Jeez. Very Gemma, that's cool. Jessette, thank you very much for super chat. Toto looks at Kimi as his protege. Exactly. George goes. Exactly. I don't think it'll be and here's the thing with that, Jessette. I completely agree with you. And I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't be a popular decision because George does have his fans. And last year was a brilliant season for George Russell. We forget he outperformed that Mercedes and he deserved his big contract for this year. But do I think that's Toto Wolff's favourite pairing, Max and George? I don't think it'd work. I think George has got to go. And I think if George goes, Kimi stays, Max goes to Mercedes, and I think Fernando leaves Aston Martin, and I think George Russell could go to Aston Martin. Could I see George at Ferrari if Lewis or Charles leaves Ferrari? It's possible, but if Ferrari for some reason don't fulfill the promise we've seen, I don't know. I think the most likely destination, really, if George is the one that's ousted of Mercedes, I think he goes to Aston Martin. I think George goes to Aston Martin. That's what I think. British driver in a British car. That's what I think it looks like to me. Yeah, Gemma, I can see you talking coffee. So yeah, that's what I think. That's how I think that plays out. But it is nice to know that Piero Ferrari, obviously son of Enzo, if you know the story, he was, right, in a nutshell, Piero Ferrari was the illegitimate son of Enzo. And then they reconciled. And then when Enzo died, he left 10% of Ferrari to Piero, which he still owns, which that is worth a fortune, let me tell you. So yeah, even though he's not actively involved in the race team, he is an owner. He is an owner. So yeah, that's how I think that plays out. That's how I think that plays out. Next story. Ollie, while we're on the Ferrari tip, Ollie Behrman still dreams a Ferrari F1 seat as talks stay very open. What is this about? Now, this is some good driver market for 27 because Ollie Behrman, solid season, even better than solid in the Haas last year, did extremely well. Really kicked Esteban Ocon's arse, didn't he? In his rookie season, he did. He got that fantastic P4 in Mexico. And I think he's going to get podiums this year in the Haas. The early signs of that Haas looks better than last year. The Ferrari power unit looks solid. It's fast. It's reliable. Behrman seems to have got to grips with that car very quickly as well. But he was doing an interview with a podcast. Which podcast was it? I think it was... It'll come back to me. High Performance, that's it. So Ollie Behrman still dreams of securing a Formula One seat with Ferrari in the future. The 20-year-old driver made his debut in the championship, the 2024. He made his debut in a Ferrari in 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, standing in for Carlos Sainz when he had appendicitis. He qualified 11th in his debut in that Ferrari, and he finished 7th, scoring points, which everyone said was a remarkable drive. And it was a remarkable drive. Thrown in the seat, no real testing time, and qualifying 11th and finishing 7th was very impressive. That got him his race seat in Haas, at Haas for 25. And then at Haas, he's kicked on. He's beat his teammate repeatedly in 25. He wringed the neck of that Haas to score points in as many Grand Prix as possible. And he got that fantastic P4 in Mexico City. So he's kicked on, even from that debut Ferrari performance. And this is what he said to High Performance Podcast. Yeah, the dialogue remains very open throughout last year and now. We will continue to stay like that as long as I'm affiliated with Ferrari. And I think it was very important for me to make clear what I was going through at Haas. There are some differences between a team like Ferrari and Haas. So the scale is on a different level. And for example, coming from having done that race at Ferrari and having what is a lot of support, you have some extra staff in the team and some extra help in a way. And then you go to Haas, it's a bit of a different structure. And especially as a rookie, I felt like I was having to learn on the job a bit more than a team like Ferrari. That's a given the size of the teams. But I felt like I had to make clear the struggles that I was going through with Haas to Ferrari because you see the results. And that doesn't tell the full story, not even half of it. So that was important. And then what they tell me is what they want to see from me, where they want to see me improve, what they're looking for, which is what you can imagine. Just drive a bit quicker every weekend. So that's the feedback from Ferrari when Behrman was talking to Ferrari about his struggles at Haas. They say we expect you to get quicker, even quicker. We like what we see, but improve, get even quicker so you can't be overlooked for a Ferrari seat. That's what they're saying to him. And then Behrman said when asked if his dream is still to drive for Ferrari in Formula One, he said, yeah, of course. They've trusted me, first of all, with their car 2 years ago, but they've also believed in me from a very early stage because they picked him up when he was in Formula 4. They invested a lot in him, and my dream is to put the red suit back on and be in a red car one day. But I also think that this year is such a great opportunity with Haas, with the new regulations. I feel like we can do it. I wonder what Haas feel when you hear your driver saying that. I think they know. I think Haas know, because he is really technically still a Ferrari driver driving for Haas. They know that they're, there to help him develop, but they get a good driver in the process, don't they? And they're grooming him for that Ferrari seat, but they get the a good driver in their seat, which can score them points, and that's good for Haas. So it works both ways with that arrangement. But what do you think? My question is, I'm going to do a poll. I'm going to do a poll here because I think this is a good time to drop a poll in. Here is my poll about Ollie Behrman. Because I want to know what you think, chat. Is Behrman, not Bertman, Behrman ready to drive for Ferrari? Is Behrman ready to drive for Ferrari? Yes or no? That is tonight's poll. Because here's my view on it. I'm going to tell you what I think. Is Behrman ready to drive for Ferrari? My view, it's going to be controversial right now, and I mean today. Is he ready to get in that car today? My view is no. I know there's going to be some people pissed with me. I don't think he's ready yet. I think he showed an incredible debut in 24 in Saudi Arabia. I think he's shown incredible progress in the Haas in 25. But I don't think he's ready today. Will he be ready at the end of the season? Yes. But is he ready today? I'd say no. Another season in Haas is perfect for him. I think 2 seasons in a midfield team is exactly what you need. George Russell, Williams, it worked out great. You know, I don't think a top team, I think it's hard. I think Kimi Antonelli showed how hard it was at Mercedes last year. And Kimi Antonelli is a generational talent. But yeah, that's what I think. For me, I think he will benefit from 1 more year. In a good team, Haas don't look shit, do they? They look good. Another year. And he needs to show that same development, that same improvement and point scoring. And I'd like to see him get at least 1 podium this year in the Haas. That's what I think. And let me get loads of... This is sparking off some super chats. Gemma, Queen of the Chat, says, no, he's too green. I agree. That's my view. That's my view too. Gisette says, he has promised but hasn't proven himself yet. Exactly. The Ferrari is a top seat. It's just not yet. Thane says, oh, Thane. I love Thane. Thane comes in with, Behrman can't possibly do worse than Hamilton. In 25... We've got to see Hamilton in 26 yet, Thane. and exactly, Gemma, he's still a learner driver. He's still doing his apprenticeship. You know, he's a young lad. Another year in the Haas will do him the world of good. And will make him a better driver. So when he gets the opportunity, he can handle it. And and that Ferrari seat, it's not just driving the car, is it? It's the pressure of Ferrari. You are under more scrutiny than any other driver on the grid driving a Ferrari. The Tifosi, the national pride of Italy. It's a national institution. And they will churn you up and spit you out. 1 more year. Let's see. But that's my view anyway. But the poll is running. It's looking like a 50-50 at the moment. Looking like a 50-50. Yeah, Karine says Behrman needs at least another year. Couldn't agree more, Karine. Your ancestor Leclerc had a few seasons at Sauber before he was ready. Exactly. Another great example. Like, these great drivers that become great drivers, a couple of years doing an apprenticeship at a midfield team. I'm not saying you need to go down to, like, the worst team on the grid. You don't have to drive for Aston Martin. Oh, a little dig in the ribs for Aston right now. But you know what I mean? It's another year. Another year. And also... It's not just another year and it's granted that you get the seat. Another year of showing the same promise, showing you can hit the levels that you hit last year, showing signs of improvement. And Ollie needs the experience of what does it feel like to stand on a podium in Formula One? Get that under your belt. Gisette, you've retracted your message. Are you rewriting it? It's a super chat. What did you say, Gisette? If you type it in, I will read it. If you type it in the chat, I'll find it and read it. If you can't, I'll edit that particular one. Yeah, Sema says, just can't wait for Hamilton to prove you wrong, Thane. You didn't need to put that in a super chat. They would have seen it, but thank you very much for your super chat, Gisette. Thank you so much. To go with Hamilton to... I love the banter. Love it. Thank you so much, Gisette. Yeah. Listen, I think Hamilton's going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. Thane did say, look, I understand Max jumped into the Red Bull Racing right away. He did well for himself, but Max is freaking Max Verstappen. And did he? Did Max go straight into Red Bull? No, he didn't. Didn't he drive for Racing Bulls first? Didn't he? He was it. Max was. Didn't he do a few? He was at Racing Bulls with Sainz, wasn't he? And Max is a generational talent. Max is from another planet. I mean, Max is... Yeah, Toro Rosso. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, he was. Max was in the other system. He was in the system. He was in the Toro Rosso first, yeah. And he was in there with Carlos Sainz, remember? So he did cut his teeth at a lesser team before he got the Red Bull seat. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, Thane said, yeah, when he was 17. Yeah, exactly. So he still... Just because he came to Formula 1 early, Thane... But he still had to do, you know, his trajectory might have been super quick, but everybody needs to start at the, you know, in a lesser team. Show us what you got. Show us what you got. So yeah, interesting. I like this poll. It's a good one, and it's so close. It's split in the room. It's 53% to 47% at the moment. Yeah, it's a good poll, that one. Okay, next up, what we got? We got okay. We've got some George Russell news. So George Russell, critical advantage revealed ahead of F1 title fight. Everyone's tipping, well, not everyone. A lot of people are tipping George Russell. This could be his season. The Mercedes looks like it's a good package. George has hit this rich vein of form last year. Really driving very, very nicely indeed. He's got all the experience now. He's got a great toolbox. He's becoming the complete driver. He could even be the complete driver right now. This could be his year. If Mercedes put a good car underneath him, it could be it. That is what people are saying. That's what Joel Palmer's saying. That James Hinchcliffe is saying. And this is what they're saying about George. There are a number of weekends where the Mercedes really wasn't up to snuff. It wasn't fighting the Red Bulls and McLarens, but George was getting everything out of the car. Now, I've been saying this a lot last year. He was wringing the neck of that Mercedes, outperforming the car. He was outperforming the car, was capable of. And when the opportunities presented themselves, he delivered and put up a championship caliber type of driver. If the car and power units are as strong as people say they are, talking about Mercedes, and there will be so much battery management, George is one of those very cerebral drivers. He is a smart guy and has a little bit of extra capacity when he's driving on the limit. Drivers like that are going to have a bit of an advantage with the new rule set, certainly early on. Until the engineers figure out how to automate everything, it goes back to drivers being drivers. But I do think it gives him an advantage and it puts him in a great position to fight for that championship, which I definitely think he is ready to do. A lot of people seem to be backing George this year. And it's not just Joel Palmer and James Hinchcliffe. He's got a very unusual supporter as well, which is the next story. So George Russell, I'm going to close this poll because I'm going to open this poll. Because I'd like to know what you think. He's everyone's favourite. I'm going to end that poll. Ben, ready to drive Ferrari. It's almost 50-50. 56% of you say yes. I think. Where is it? Where's my poll gone? The chat. Where's my result of my poll? 44% say yes, 56% say no. I'm with the 56%. But here's my next poll of the night. Is George Russell going to win World Driver Championship? The 26th. Let's find out what you think about this. So, he's got a lot of people predicting it. I'm going to tell you my 2 cents on whether I think George Russell will win this year's Driver Championship. I think he's in the mix. Do I think he's going to win it? He's not my pick. He's not. He's not my pick. My pick is... It's not... It might surprise people. It might not. Oh. My driver pick for 2026 is, right now from what I've seen, it might change at Melbourne, but what I've seen is, I think it's going to be Charles Leclerc. That's what I think. I'm going with Leclerc. I want it to be Lewis, but I think it's going to be very close between Leclerc and Lewis. But my heart would go for Lewis because I'd love him to get his 8th and all of the story behind it. But my head says I think Leclerc's going to win it at the moment. I pendulum, but I think Leclerc's going to do it. Oh my God, 92% of you say no. About 92% of you saying Russell's not going to win it. Oh, I tell you, he's the bookie's favourite though. He's the bookie's favourite. Wow, Drop Tune says no as well. Yeah, and Zikev says, I think it's between Charles and Lewis. Good, yeah. I mean, I do. I think Ferrari. I think Ferrari are gonna surprise everybody, and I think Ferrari are gonna win. I think Ferrari are gonna win the constructors and the drivers. I just don't know. I don't know exactly which driver it's gonna be. I want it to be Lewis, but I think it's gonna be Leclerc. Oh, Drop Tune saying Kimi, the Mercedes. That would be something. That would be something. But yeah, but I need to get into this though, because it's not just the journalists and the bookies that fancy George Russell. Check this out. Sainz says only George Russell can stop Max Verstappen winning the 26 F1 title. So who would have thought Carlos Sainz, a big George Russell fan, going into 26. So this is what Carlos Sainz was saying. Carlos Sainz believes Mercedes, George Russell and Red Bull's Max Verstappen are the only true title contenders heading in to the 26 F1 season. So Carlos Sainz doesn't think his old team Ferrari are in the mix. Wonder why he says that. He might be right. I don't know. Maybe we're all wrong. You like Ferrari so far from these early signs. You can never rule Max out. He's always going to be in the game. But he's backing George Russell as well. This is what he had to say. During an appearance on F1's Beyond the Grid podcast, Sainz was asked to pick his world champion for 26. He said he can't choose between George Russell and Max Verstappen. He was tight-lipped on his reasoning, but indicated that Red Bull's first ever power unit had impressed him in the first Bahrain test. It impressed a lot of people there, to be fair. Mercedes boss Toto said Red Bull had the best engine. I think that was a smokescreen to say stop looking at our engine in an interview last month, but this was largely dismissed as sandbagging at the time. Sainz said, I'll only say 2 names. When asked who's going to win the World Driver Championship, so I'll only say 2 names. George Russell or Max Verstappen. Tom Clarkson asked him to explain it, and he said, no, I cannot. I mean, he didn't want to get into detail, but those are his picks. So Carlos Sainz, who's obviously, I would say, pretty much in the know. Sorry, I need to have a little swig of my tea. Fancies George Russell. Look, I understand the logic and reasoning, but I see a lot of you in the chat are saying a lot of things that I'm thinking. Like, I know he's a smooth... Look, George Russell is good. He's a great driver. I think if he is going to win it, this is the year. But whether he'll get it across the line or not, I don't know. We've got some super chats flying in. Let me get some. So, super chats. Gemma, not if Lewis pulls it out of the bag. Gemma, think you're going with me on the Ferrari. Like it. And Gisette says, Sainz is bitter. Bitter or better? Sainz is bitter. Yeah, oh, he's bitter about the Ferrari exit. That's why he's not talking about it. I get it, Gisette. Yeah. It's year of the fire horse. Yeah, it's a prancing horse, baby. I think Ferrari's it. And you know what? If anyone from Ferrari's watching, because I know you like to watch F1 Grandstand, I know I gave you a lot of stick last year because you deserved it. I'm giving you a lot of positive stick this year. So, you know, maybe you should invite us over to Maranello. Let's do an F1 Grandstand from Maranello. I'll still be honest, though. Even if you invite me over and you lend me one of your cars, I will still be honest. We will not be swayed or turned by some lovely hospitality from Ferrari. But yeah, maybe Sainz is better, actually. Maybe that's it. But then again, Sainz did say in an interview this week that he wouldn't rule out going back to Ferrari one day. Because that's the other thing. That's the other thing. When we talk about the driver market at the end of 27, if Hamilton leaves Ferrari, if Leclerc leaves Ferrari, like Sainz would be an option, you know. Sainz, Piastri, Behrman, Kimi Antonelli, all of these drivers will be doing the rounds, and there'll be a different, honestly, you'll see a different story every night. Halfway through this season, the driver market will be going crazy. The stories will come in thick and fast. Who's talking to who? Then that's BS. This isn't BS. There's going to be a lot going on. Multiple teams talking to the same driver, etc. And we will be discussing it a lot. It's going to get exciting, actually. Hooked on Classic, still going to wear his Aston merch. What, for the race, for Melbourne? Good for you. I like that. As Zed Kev says, Aston merch, feel the vibe. Yeah. Sema says, if I was Sainz, I would never return to Ferrari. Well, yeah, I mean, it must have been a big decision, that letting a great driver go to have the GOAT to allow the GOAT to come in. Big decision, that. And here's the thing. I know Williams, no one's talking about just how bad they look at the moment. Carlos Sainz might be looking for a move at the end of the year. If Williams don't improve and save like 30 kilos off the weight of that car and do everything else they need to do to show some pace. The best thing about Williams right now is they've got the Mercedes power unit. That is their best thing. And they've got good drivers, Carlos Sainz and Alexander Albon. But that's all the positives I can see at Williams right now. So, if they have a shit season, does Carlos Sainz go? I think there's a chance. Gisette says, a talented grid. So excited to see how it plays out. Yeah, Gisette, you know what? Because you can't rule out like great seasons from people like Pierre Gasly. You know, the Alpine guys have been very quiet. They've been showing some pace and performance in Bahrain. They've been working on that car for a long time. No upgrades in 25. They've got the good power unit. Like, we could see Gasly, you know, showing how good he is, because I think he's one of the most underrated drivers on the grid. Alpine could be a dark horse. Seriously, they've been under the radar a little bit in testing, but in Melbourne, I mean, I expect Alpine to be in Q3. I do. I expect Gasly to take that car through to Q3 and to be fighting somewhere on maybe the first 3 rows. I do. I think it's possible. I think Alpine could be up there. And if you're starting on the first 3 rows, you've got a chance of a podium. So, yeah. I mean, there's other drivers. Who else would I say is an out? All right. Someone that could perform better this year. I would have said Fernando Alonso, but Aston Martin looked shocking. So, I would say surprising performances. I think Pierre Gasly could surprise a few people. I mean, Ollie Behrman being competitive consistently in that Haas. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but I think people would be surprised at the step forward that Haas have made. Oh, here's one for you. Here's the surprising one for you. Nico Hülkenberg. We could see Nico Hülkenberg competing for podiums. He could be a surprise package. Yeah, DT, right. DT is asking about we're doing predictions. I'm gonna lift the kimono a little bit. So predictions, we'll do a little bit of predictions tomorrow night, but what's going on in the background and we haven't got it ready yet. I really wanted it ready because the channel's grown so big now and we've got so many people on the live streams. Predictions are going to be tricky to monitor. So we are building in the background a way for all of you guys as a companion to watching the stream to predict your driver predictions. It gets logged, and then when we know the result, I know which YouTube and name has got it right. And so we are improving predictions, but we're building this tech solution, and it's a bigger thing than you think. I want it ready for China if possible. Critch, if you're watching, how are you getting on with it, buddy? But we've got a whole new way of doing predictions, so everybody, the whole community, can get involved. So yeah, but we will do some predictions tomorrow night. But we're improving our predictions. Watch this space. Watch this space. Me too on Tube. Lando who? Lando's not even getting a mention, is he? So yeah, God, I've got so much in this show. I've got more to get onto. So going back to predictions, we need to get into this one. I'm running over. Martin Brundle predicts Australian Grand Prix podium with Charles Leclerc winning. Brundle is backing Leclerc to win in Melbourne. How about that? I haven't got time to do another poll. We'll have to pick this one up. But this is what Brundle says, his reasons behind it. Martin Brundle says, God, I've got so much in this show. Martin Brundle says he has predicted that Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc will start the 26 Formula 1 season with a win at the Australian Grand Prix. I've always liked Martin Brundle, and a lot of us are in agreement about Ferrari. You see? As for his predictions by Sky Sports, Brundle picked Leclerc to take his second win at Albert Park after a previous triumph in 2022. Ferrari have won the Australian Grand Prix 11 times, and a victory this weekend will see them tie McLaren at the top. Brundle has talked up George Russell's title chances, and he believes the Mercedes driver will finish second. So we're talking the same language, really. He rounds off his prediction with Oscar Piastri as a P3. None of us are talking about McLaren right now. None of us are talking about Piastri. None of us are talking about Lando Norris. But those are Martin Brundle's predictions. Do you think he's right? Get in the chat. Let me know. I like it because that's my prediction also. So I like that he is he's in it. He's in it with me. And the final story of tonight, and it's a positive one. Valtteri Bottas. What's he had to say? It's a quick one, this, but I wanted to leave some positive vibes about 2026. The new Formula 1 regulations for the 26th season have taken quite the bashing in recent weeks, but Valtteri Bottas is adamant that the new cars are fun to drive. Fernando Alonso has already labelled the heightened focus as annoying, and he isn't alone in his assessment. Four-time world champion Max Verstappen also launched an attack on the new regulations, comparing them to being Formula E on steroids. Valtteri Bottas offers his personal thoughts on the 26 F1 regulations after recent criticism. During an appearance at the Adelaide Motorsport Festival ahead of the Australian Grand Prix this weekend, Bottas took part in a Q&A and question and answer session from F1 fans. And this is what the Cadillac driver said. My personal thoughts about the 26 regulations is that it's going to be much better than people speculate. There's been a lot of criticism, which I think is always normal when there's a change in the sport. Yes, the cars are different, the engines are different, but then every team is still getting used to the battery power. So we'll see in Melbourne how it all goes. But I think it's going to be fine. That's Bottas. I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to be quite dynamic racing with the battery. How you deploy or charge the battery will just add an extra element to the sport. So it should be good. And the cars, they're fun to drive. And do you know what? I wanted to end on that because we've all been like speculating how bad it's going to be. And I love the fact that Bottas has got in there and said, do you know what? Listen, fans, I know you think it's going to be a shit show. I'm telling you, these cars are fun to drive, and it might not be as bad as what people think, and it's going to be good. And it's a great positive way to finish a show because it gets us excited for Melbourne, right? That's what I think. But yeah, Bottas leaving us on a positive vibe for Melbourne. Look, you want my truth? I still think it's going to be a bit of a shit show early doors of these regulations. I still think Aston Martin are going to not be great. But we're going to be talking about Melbourne tomorrow night. Melbourne, we're going to do some predictions. We're going to be talking about what to expect. We'll talk about some stats. You don't want to miss it. And we'll get geared up for the free practice one watch along, which will be happening early doors on Friday morning. So yeah, There's a lot going on. A lot going on. Thank you so much for all of your super chats. Gemma, great PRing from Bottas. Getting a super chat in just before I'm about to go. But yes, thank you so much for your super chats. See you all tomorrow night. Big show, Melbourne. We're going to discuss it all. I'll see you at 7:30 GMT. Ta-ta.